Welcome to the Claws Out podcast. We're coming to you live from the StreamYard studios in our living rooms or bedrooms or wherever the boys are tonight. But Rob, Steve, and Gary are here as usual to go through the wreckage of a disappointing 24-10 loss for the West Tigers to the Dragons about 24 hours ago at Cogra. Steve, I'm going to come to you first because you had the pleasure or displeasure of being at Cogra yesterday. You were very, very confident on Tuesday. You said if we play our best football, we'll win comfortably. So my question to you is, what happened?
Well, we didn't play our best football, did we? We didn't play anything close to our best football, and it was just an incredibly disappointing performance. You know, my hope in tipping us to win well was, you know, getting Dewey back, getting Twal back, getting closer to the team that produced great football beginning of the year. I thought we'd be desperate enough to put in a performance worthy of a last-ditch effort to keep our season alive. But it was the most inept, lackluster performance I've seen from our club. Well, I was going to say for a long time, but probably since last year or the year before or the year before or the year before. I'm still pissed off if that's not obvious.
Rob, I can see you coming from the Red Room tonight, which is probably apt because you've been seething over the past 24 hours, a little bit at me, a little bit at the team. I'm not quite sure where, but I'm sure we'll get into it. I'll ask you the same question I ask you every week, mate. Your main emotions after that loss, because you were at Cogra Oval as well.
My main emotion, Eddie, was despair. Just the realisation that we're not going to play finals. I think last week against Newcastle certainly got me used to that idea. So in some way it actually, you know, got me warmed up for what happened yesterday. Probably the most humiliating part was just being amongst that sea of red and white and hearing the chants with 3 minutes left. And good on them for showing up in numbers. They've only won one game all year, so I get that. But it just opens your eyes up to the problems within the rest of the club that we don't talk about. And to be honest, Eddie, like, I know what you're going to talk about tonight exactly, but it's probably something we shouldn't talk about because we've got a game to prepare for next week. As hurt as we are, this isn't a post-mortem. We've got 7 or 8 games left in a bye, and we're probably a 1% chance of playing finals mathematically. Well, I say 1% because it is a mathematical chance. I think, as I said a few weeks ago, the juice was squeezed out of the orange. And I think what's pissed me off the last 2 weeks, it's not the effort. Honestly, I don't care how bad we play. It's not the effort. It's what bothers me is St. George had won one game all year. They played to win. We needed to stay in touch with the 8. We played not to lose. Okay, we've done that for 2 weeks in a row. We play not to lose. That's our style. Grind, kick, put a kick up in the air, hope for the best. We're just, we've gone backwards. Our attack is awful. Our last tackle options are terrible. We'll talk about all that, but to answer your main question, mate, absolute despair. And being with my son, who was, just seeing his face and saying, I can't do this anymore. Like every year I get my hopes up. I can't do this. And that's pretty much the sentiment across the fan base.
We'll deep dive, boys, into our attack of late and the game plan yesterday. But Gary, you did the watch along at the Summerhill Hotel. You did say to me, I think via text, you're not the most entertaining person to watch on the watch along because you have the novel idea of actually watching the game, unlike me and other people who like to text during the game. But I thought Shane was outstanding entertainment. I did flick through some of that last 15 minutes. And even Josh, you could see both those boys quite emotional and hurting.
Yeah, and look, it may not have come across in me being on the watch along yesterday, but my main emotion coming out of yesterday is I'm angry. And Rob said
tell you were angry on that watch along.
Yeah, Rob said a moment ago that there's some things we could talk about that he doesn't want to talk about tonight. Well, there's some things I am going to talk about tonight, and I won't do it yet, but there's some things I want to talk about in regards to our club that I'm not happy with, that's just not good enough from our club, that I will be talking about tonight. But yesterday was just such a hard performance. And the reason it affected me is we all sat here last week, and Rob's right, we all sat here and said that the season was over. But you know what? There's still hope there. They'll still hope would come out. We're playing the Wooden Spooners that would put on a decent performance, and we could start to build something for the back end of this season. Now, we've spoken all year and we've made excuses all year, and I know it's on your run sheet, but I'm going to briefly mention it now about injuries. You know what? We had players out yesterday. Yes, it affected our attack, but it doesn't matter. We're playing the Wooden Spooners. Yesterday was a day that no matter who we had on the field, we're going out against the side that's won one game all year. And if we were a genuine club, if we were a real club, if we were a professional club, we win that game yesterday, and we find a way to win that game yesterday. I don't care who was in and out. We find a way to win that game yesterday. That's what the good clubs do. That's what top 8 clubs do. And we didn't do that yesterday. And what I want to talk about at some point during this pod is what we need to do as a club to actually start moving forward.
Steve, we spoke last week about perhaps being deflated and defeated. Have you shifted a little bit towards anger yesterday or not?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And I'll give you an example of what really infuriated me. So I was sitting down in the corner, so where Valentine Holmes scored our last tries in the last 10 minutes. I was sitting right there. I was in row A, right on the fence. Now for that second try he scored, when St George set up for that try, they had a 3-man overlap, right? We had, to the right of the upright, we had Skelton and Taruva. That was it. They had 5 players to the right, to the left of the upright for them, right? Our guys around the ruck were screaming to push out, push out, push out. Taruva and Skelton just stood there. They didn't move. There was nothing. And then finally, when the ball started to head that direction, they all shifted out and it was too late. And I think in that one, he cut back inside, then scored. But there was just no communication. It just looked like they'd checked out. And it was just such an inept performance. And you just look at the comparison, right? I wrote this down. Sorry, just indulge me for a sec. So last year, we were on 16 points. Now we're on 18th. We were 14th. Now we're 12th. We'd won 6 games. Now we've won 7. Our differential was minus 82. Now it's minus 104. Now, yeah, we've had injuries, but we're being told to buy into this culture crap and that we're moving forward and everything's heading in the right direction and we've got standards and we're not going to, and if you don't live up to the standards, you're out. Well, fair income, how long does our fan base have to listen to this absolute crap that comes out of the club year after year after year? Like, I get what Rob says about effort. I'm going to say that back end of the game, there was no effort. They clocked out, or some of them did. And it's not good enough. It's not good enough to the fans. It's not good enough to the people. I got an email today from the fans representative group, and this lady saying, I can't afford a membership. We go week to week. If we can afford to go, we go. And what does the club think of that? What do the players think of that lady that takes her 2 kids to the game every week? It's not good enough, man. It's just not good enough.
Rob,
is that an hour? Sorry.
Rob, that's probably the disheartening thing just over the last 24 hours. I don't read the forums and stuff as much as I used to, but I read some of the comments on Instagram and West Tigers forum. And we've obviously got a lot of hardcore fans at the West Tigers and fans, I feel, over the past 2 years that have been on board with what we're trying to do and they can see some progress. But even they, last night, there was a lot of negative chat there. Is that justified or is it part of the emotion of being a fan and getting rolled by a team in one win?
When you know your season's over, that's how people react. I'm not going to tell people how to react. If they don't want to go to a game, if they don't want to watch a podcast, if they don't want to support the team, you've got to protect yourself. You've got to protect your feelings. We love the club. We love the team. So when we continuously get shat on, you react differently. I mean, you know, like Shane loves the club, for example. I heard part of that watch along. I listened to the last 15 minutes. Like the stuff he was saying about the team, he would not say that under normal circumstances. Like he was just highly emotional, getting really upset, as we all are. I'll give you the right to reply, Steve. I don't think there was anyone that turned it up. I don't think there was anyone that didn't put effort in. You're right about the numbers and sliding across and all that. But even, you know, to that point, I thought we actually scrambled really well. We were just outnumbered. You know, I think Madden had missed a tackle on the tackle before at one stage, and then Jareen Buller made his first mistake in about 3 or 4 weeks and dropped a bomb, and we were all caught off guard. So, I'm not gonna say there wasn't effort there. We just have to accept the fact that yesterday was a shit performance against a shit team, against a team that had a hooker playing at left centre for over half a game. And we are so low on rugby league IQ that we never exploited it. And we set up our team in a way, we had 4 wingers in our team, okay, and we put Saruva in his unpreferred position. We do not score enough points. Gary mentioned it yesterday at the end of the watch-along. We've scored 16 points in 2 weeks. Guys, the game in 2026 is designed around attack. All the rules, the 6 agains, you make a great tackle around the ankles and you almost get penalised because you've held them down for too long. Everything is about attack. We got one of the greatest attacking minds as our head coach, whose philosophy, fair enough, we had to change the culture, and we did. We've based it on defence, and we defended really bloody well. We held the Knights to 6 points for 75 minutes. We held the Dragons to 6 points for 69 minutes. The defence isn't the problem. It's our style. It's our attack. It's our lack of purpose in the red zone. It's even if you want to get technical, and you can take it up with Adel later, Eddie, with these block shapes, the man behind the back is too deep. The defender has time to get the lead runner and the guy out the back. We are so poorly coached in attack. We need new people there. It doesn't have to be the head coach, but the head coach, Gary will get onto it later, this whole nepotism that's been rife in the club from prior to Benji's appointment, it has to go. Everyone in a position is an ex-player, ex-Tiger, ex-legend, head of pathways, Bronson Harrison. Like, it goes to every... And then what have they done previously? They have no experience. Okay, and we're copying it now. Yeah, we've had injuries, big deal. But when you've got a hooker at left centre for over 40 minutes, don't fucking tell me we shouldn't have won that game. We should have won 13 plus. But we kept going to the other side. We're a dumb team, Eddie. Someone else.
I just want to come back at that a little bit, right? There's no argument from me about our attack. Our attack is abysmal, right? And it's been like that all season, and it's fallen off a cliff lately. But, mate, our right edge defence, we got 2 wingers playing centre and winger on the right edge. Our right edge defence, like this, St. George stripped us of numbers every single time they went to our red zone. Our right edge defence was diabolical yesterday. Like, they had a couple of tries disallowed, I think. Like, they could have been way ahead. We had 61% of the ball, and to your point, we only could score 4 points. But they were stripping us so easily on our right edge. It's ridiculous, and it's been that way all season. Now you can talk about players out, yeah, but the people there, they're at training. They've got to be doing the work to work together to not take the wrong man, to not rush up and off their target and cause the overlap like they do. So I agree with you with attack, but I don't think our defense is much better. Scramble, yeah, scramble's okay.
I don't want to hog this. I want to let Gary have his say, but on that fact, and again, it's easy to single out players and blame things, but instead of being emotional, let's try and be logical and technical. You're right. They did strip our right edge. Even in the first half, they made breaks from the first minute. But that right edge had Sione on right edge yesterday. Sione has previously played left edge, where that's been a problem. So wherever Sione is, there is a problem on that edge. Okay, they swapped Suka and Sione Fainu around. I know Sione came off for a head bin in the first half, later in the half. Gary, you have a say, but I just wanted to make that point. Like, there is a common, like, that guy's a middle. I'm not having a go at him. The guy's a middle. He's being put into another place that he doesn't belong. Okay, and we don't have any edge back rows. We've got, I don't know, Ethan Roberts was injured for a while. He might have come back today. There's just such a lack of depth, and that goes to these losses highlighting the problems we have as a club, and that's one of them. We've got players playing in different positions because we've run out of troops.
Look, all that's correct, Rob, but the problem I have, and I spoke to someone today who is not at the club, but is highly connected to the club, a highly competent person who will be speaking to the club over the next couple of weeks. You mentioned it earlier, Rob. It is the jobs for boys culture that we kind of have at the club at the moment, with Benji's Marshall kind of setting himself up with friends as these assistant coaches, friends with no experience. You have a look. We've got Brett Hodgson. We've got John Morris. We've got Chris Heinington. They're our assistant coaches. And then when you look at our manager for football, it's Pat Richards. Like, you don't get any more of a job for the friends or job for the boys situation than what we have at our club right now. And that's okay. It would be okay if we were winning games. It'd be okay if we were successful, but we're not. And a decision has to be made by the club. We've appointed Sean Millenkamp through the week as our permanent CEO. So there's not going to be a change there. The change needs to be made in the football department. And if Benji Marshall wants to continue to employ assistants who don't have experience, who don't have the ability to actually get this side winning, then that falls to him. If he's not going to fix that, if he's not going to allow qualified assistants to be actually employed at our club to start getting our club moving forward, then that falls on his head. We need a lot better in what we're getting from our assistant coaches right now. If Benji Marshall has done a great job of improving the culture of the club, I don't think anyone can really argue that he hasn't. But if we've scored 3 tries, all through Adam Dewey, by the way, Adam Dewey scored 2 yesterday. He set 1 up last week. If we didn't have Adam Dewey playing the last 2 weeks, we don't score a try. We need better in the attack. You look at our red zone, it's been a mess for 5 years. A mess for 5 years, and it is not improving. It is slow. It is clunky. We shift the ball from side to side to shift the ball. We don't engage runners. We don't engage defenders. And if you're not engaging defenders, you can't strip numbers. That's why we can't actually do anything in the red zone, because we're not engaging anyone. It's absolutely abysmal, our red zone attack, and it has been. It's been an issue forever. We need better help for Benji Marshall. I actually would like a proper general manager of football put in place above him, not just Pat Richards doing part of that sort of role and Shannon Gallant doing another part of that. I'm sure they're great. I'm sure they're learning to do a great job, but we need more than what we have at the moment. Otherwise, we're going to get to this point next year, and we'll be in the same situation. We'll have a season that's over. Now, our season's lasted a little bit longer this year, but we're at the start of July and our season's over. We're light years away from making the top 8 at this point in time. We're still 2 months to go in the competition. It's just not good enough, and our fan base deserves much better. Everyone who goes out to games deserves much better. That woman you spoke about who sent you an email today, Steve, she deserves much better. This club for 15 years has let its fan base down. It's time to make the tough calls, the right decisions, and guarantee success for our club, not just hope for it.
Okay, well, let's forget about like a tiger moment, Rob, because we've pushed on to sort of the next agenda, and I'm a little bit surprised. I'm not totally surprised, because the stuff that Gary raised was something we raised at times last year about Benji's assistant coaches.
Yep.
But as far as I'm aware, unless I missed a couple of podcasts, you guys haven't raised that at all this year about qualified assistants. I would argue that Brett Hodgson is highly experienced as an assistant, both in the UK, particularly. I think he was a head coach.
Have you looked at his results?
John Morris was a interim head coach at the Sharks, has been assistant at a number of clubs. Shannon Gallant was getting raps from some of you guys in the past month. So
I'll still give him raps. He's a great recruitment officer.
Hold on. Are we just doing a complete about face here because we've had an emotional loss? Or, Rob, is there a little bit of wiggle room to be done in terms of Benji maybe not getting total control of his coaching staff?
Like I said, we're having this conversation, so we'll have it. But I really don't think this is the time for the conversation. The assistant coaches, okay, Brett Hodgson has had no success previously wherever he's been. Okay, John Morris has played finals, has coached finals for Cronulla. Okay, I think they got rid of him because they couldn't get past week 1. And it's not fair to Hodgson and Morris if you're an assistant and you're doing what the coach is telling you. I think everything falls back on Benji. And I love Benji, and I agree with Gary. He's probably the right guy for us, but he needs to change his philosophy. He can't win like Penrith in 2023. You can't win off just hoping and errors and what have you. You've got to, even Penrith changed their game. Even the Melbourne Storm, once upon a time, I'm going back 5 or 6 years ago, were renowned as only a defensive team. And the last 5 or 6 years, the Melbourne Storm became both a great attacking team and defensive team. We're not evolving, Eddie. And yeah, we're mentioning all this now. I can go further. We've got Bronson Harrison as head of pathways. What was he doing? Running kids camps, for 8-year-olds to 15-year-olds prior to that. Very successfully, mind you. But I'm just saying, like, the nepotism's always been there. But when it fails, you do ask questions. And I understand too why Benji's put these guys there, because as a head coach, you need to trust them. Like Madge. Madge always put assistants that were always older than him that couldn't take his job. But the thing for Benji, he's got the job locked in until 2030. Like, I know you can get fired at any time, but he's the head coach for another 4 years after this year. We need to get some expertise. I've said it a number of times, and you're saying we've changed the tune. I've never changed my tune, Eddie, on the fact that we're the McDonald's of the NRL. Okay, you want to get your first gig somewhere, you go to the Tigers, you learn, and you F off somewhere else to a better place. But I've just accepted my fate as a supporter. I'll support the West Tigers for the rest of my life. I'll be at Campbelltown on Friday night, like I'm sure Steve and Gary will be. But I kind of accept I'm not going to see finals in my lifetime. Like, I feel like we're at least 5 years away now. And even if we had all the right players, I am now seriously questioning how we play tactically. I don't want to make it personal. It's just a tactical thing. I don't see what we're trying to do. That red zone is so important. That style of attack is so important. I see other teams do it. And when we do have our best players, we are better than the other teams, but we have to win the hard way. It feels like we've got one arm tied behind our backs with how we play. We have to put in 110% every week in physical effort, and we don't play smart enough. We don't make it easy on ourselves. And even if we'd have won yesterday, I knew it was going to be a struggle. It's just really disappointing, and it just feels like it doesn't matter who we sign next year or the year after. There's no excuses. We've had enough talent at that club for 2.5, 3 years to play better than this. But when you start picking everyone out of position and it's a dog's breakfast, you have to start questioning, what are we doing? I don't know, guys. You guys might have some better answers than me, but I just see basic symptoms in our attack. Last tackle options yesterday where, geez, I think I even wrote some of them down. Some poor kicks by Madden. Early in the game, Tony Sukar got tackled on the last tackle in their quarter. Lanyon threw a pass to Terrell May under the post late in the second half. Madden runs the ball from 25 metres out on the last tackle with nothing doing. Like, that's just 3 or 4 of the things that I picked out from the game on the last tackle. So I want to try and keep it to what we do on the footy field, because ultimately, if we're winning all the time, we're not complaining about Benji putting Rellos or friends or anyone as his assistants. We're not winning. And you have to ask, why aren't we winning? And I think we're not winning because we are a poorly coached team from an X's and O's point of view. No one can tell me that those players do not give 100% every week, including my friend Steve. Okay, I think the effort's there every week. We just have to accept right now we are the worst team in the comp, and we're an absolutely shithouse team to watch.
So you bring in someone who can coach the X's and O's. Benji doesn't have to do that. That doesn't have to be the head coach's role. You bring in someone who can support him in that role. You
That's what I
bring in
said.
someone who can at least coach proper shape, proper block plays. We're so far behind the other teams, it's not even funny.
So just on that, like we know what's behind this, and I think it's a little bit unfair just to call it a mates club. I think that's doing the club a disservice. Like, I've just had a rant at the club, right? So I'm trying to be a little bit balanced, but and like, I know Gary and I we've sat down and we've been told this, that the club felt there was a lack of Tigers DNA. There was no identity. The club didn't have a direction, or what did we stand for? What did it mean to be a West Tigers, right? And so therefore they implemented a strategy to bring in people that had West Tigers DNA, right? Which is why you've got the list as long as your arm now of ex-players and predominantly from that successful era. So I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying, Gary. That's for sure. I'm 100% behind it. But I just want to give a little bit of balance there. That I think a mates club is. I think it's probably a little bit unfair. There might be some of that is probably true, but I think
So
what I just said.
Surely we'd have someone in our coaching side staff from outside the club then.
Well, yeah, that's probably
John Morris
right.
is outside the club. He spent years at South and Cronulla.
He spent years at the club.
And he was at Newcastle too, but that's not the issue. He's one of Benji's teammates.
Yeah, true. But I mean, it's no guarantee, Rob. I mean, look at Canterbury. They went and got Adam O'Brien, who's an experienced NRL coach, and their attack's gone to absolute shit this year.
Yeah, well, like you said, I mean, if they were doing well, these questions wouldn't come up. But if you're failing at something, then you start questioning well, hang on, why are they there in the first place? What are their credentials? As fans, like you try and say, let's keep a balance, let's be okay with the club. It's 15 years, now 16 years, about to be, of no finals. There's no balance in that. And you talk about, and it goes right up to the top. And you know what? I hate Holman Barnes Group. I can't even blame them for what's going on the footy field right now. But I will say one thing. They still wanted Tony Mestrov as CEO. And I got a DM last Wednesday saying that Sean will be appointed, but some within the board still wanted Tony Mestrov as CEO, given all the signings and everything Sean had done. So you can't tell me everything's roses there. It's still we still have poor leadership, at most levels.
Gary, how about...
I'm not saying it is, mate. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that's the reason it happened. That was their strategy. That was their thinking, rightly or wrongly. That was what was behind what's happened with the appointments at the club.
The only sort of thing I'd say, Gary, is like, I don't think this current group and coaching group should be a prisoner to the fact we haven't played finals for 15 years, because what do? Do you rip it all up and start again? And like, that's what West Tigers have done over the past decade, is chop and change coaches and assistant coaches and new regime and this and that. So are you going to give me a name in terms of who should be in there?
No, I think the club needs to start planning that now. That is Sean's responsibility, Benji's responsibility to have some input put on it, but the club needs to make a decision. And the reason why it needs to be discussed now is because this planning needs to start now. Like, we need change. Like, you can't tell me that we can go through another season well and truly missing the 8, which is looking quite likely, as you predicted, Eddie, I will say. And with the same players pretty much contracted for next season and the season after, we've got players locked in to long-term contracts. Then what are you going to change? We've got Benji Marshall locked into long-term contracts. We've got a new CEO in the club. There needs to be some kind of change. There needs to be some kind of circuit breaker from what we've produced this year. There's not going to be a turnover of players. There's not going to be a new management at the club. There's not going to be a new head coach. What does that leave you with?
Rob, the game itself, do you think Benji's changed something in the actual game plan? Because you've mentioned 10 points last week. 6 points against Newcastle, 10 points last night. A lot of fans horrified to see only 3 offloads last night. It was only a 3-minute press conference from Benji, but he talked about the slow motion shift, and it was almost like pass the parcel. Do you put that on the coach, or do you put that on, again, it sounds like I'm making excuses, but the lack of personnel? I'm looking at the guys out, and I'm looking at Samuela, Talon, KPP, Luai. Appy missed the back half of that game. They're 5 of our elite players. And even Royce Hunt, who Gary said earlier this year, is our only impact player off the bench.
I'll put it down to both, because, if we have that genuine next man up mentality, they should all be playing the same way. The cup team should be playing the same way as the first grade team. All our plays, all our designs should be the same thing. I grant you we're missing personnel, but if you look at that back line yesterday, the way it was set up, you think, righto, the only points we've got are going to be Jareem Bull or Adam Dewey. There was no one else. But if you look at that back line at the start of the year, you'd have those two. You'd say Jerome can create something. You'd say Taylor May's a strike weapon. And you'd say you've got Makasini and Taruva that are great finishers. So suddenly you're looking at that whole back line. You're looking at that quality second row that we had. 2 big, tall guys that can offload, that are good aerially. You had Taylor May, who can do an offload at will. Appy that can create around the ruck. There's that attack coming out of the team's arse. But we just want to play this boring, grinding, time in possession, get to the other end, bullshit. And then you see some of these last tackle options yesterday, and then some of the kicks from Madden were disgraceful. Like, honestly, they were like under 12 little chip kicks. Skelton, I thought, had a really, really good game overall. And every time he competed for every aerial kick, put one of those kicks in the in goal, mate, he falls over and he scores a try. Some of those balls are landing next to the sideline or 15 metres short. And it's the same thing every week. And Jock Madden has been there since round 3. Okay, he missed a couple of games when Luai came back. He's been there for 15 weeks, basically. And we're seeing the same old pissy little chip kicks. Okay, yeah, he put one kind of torp, in the second half of the game yesterday, or first half, whatever it was. But we're seeing the same thing. We don't see that from Adam. We see a variety of kicks from Adam. And I'm going to throw in the like a tiger moment that you don't want to throw in. Adam scoring that try with a fucking bung shoulder as well. Okay, everyone thought it was a poor kick. He ends up scoring the try. That's a like a tiger moment. It should be all 3 of our like a tiger moments.
I called it on the watch along as soon as he kicked it that it was too long. And that was a great effort. Eddie, that we've used injuries all season. Like we've spoken about on here many times. I've excused our poor performances for the last 2 months on injuries. And you're exactly right. You have a look at that back line that was there yesterday. You have a look at our edges. Both our second rowers are out, and we had guys who should be playing on the wing playing in the centres. We've had there are significant injuries that impact our red zone attack, that impact the way we play football. But I keep coming back to we played a side that's won 1 game all season. We needed yesterday was a game where I don't think you can sit here and say injuries caused us to lose that game. And even the Knights game, that Knights game was there to be won by us last week. I don't think you can sit there after those 2 games and say we performed poorly in those games because of injuries. They are both games with the roster that we had, with the team we put out on the field, even with the field position we had, that we needed to find a way to win both those games. If we're sitting here having won those last 2 games, which we should have won, then we're 4 points higher. I think everyone here is quite happy with the season. The fact is we couldn't perform in those games. And the one yesterday, losing to St. George yesterday, who have been poor all season. I know they've had some close losses, but they give you plenty of opportunities. They gave us plenty of opportunities yesterday. We dominated the red zone possession. You have to find a way to win that game. And we weren't able to come up with a plan or come up with a game plan that would pressure them enough and create the opportunities for us to win the game.
I'll tell you two things that I think have changed as the season's progressed. And the first one is pretty much because of injury, and that is multiple points of attack that make a defensive line sit back and wait. Right, when there's 3 or 4 possibilities of who's going to run the ball or where the ball's going to end up, the defensive line has to sit back and watch a number of players. That's gone mainly because of injury. Right, we don't have the guys out there with that strike power. But the second thing that's fallen off a cliff that we still could be doing no matter who's out there is, so we don't never play a lot of shape. We don't score a lot of tries through shape after shape after throwing lots of shape at opposition. But what we do is we roll forward and we push through the tackle, and then we get a ball away with second phase play, and guys play ad-lib footy off that. Adam Dewey is excellent at playing ad-lib footy off the back of it. So is Jerome Luai, ad-lib footy, whether it's a kick through, whether it's a jink, whatever it is. Taylor May, Stafford Toa, very good when they get the ball with a bit of space. And what do we get? 3 offloads yesterday. Right? That's changed as well. I don't know why. Lost confidence, maybe.
Rob, what can Benji do in the short term to fix that attack? We mentioned Jock Madden's been there pretty much since round 3. Might have missed a game or 2 when Adam and Jerome played together. Is it time for him to obviously Jerome will be back next week, but what fundamentally can we change in terms of personnel and game plan for the upcoming weeks?
I think we tried to fix the attack during the past week. I know they worked a lot on red zone attack. I know they tried. You can't fix a problem like that in 7 days. It's equally as important to attack as it is to defend, as it is to have your kick right. your kick chase, all that sort of thing. We can't just say, oh, we've got to fix this now. Let's fix it in a week. It takes, repeat after repeat after repeat. You've got to do these drills over and over again. It needs so much repetition. So I don't know if it can fix. What's the answer to be fixed? Yeah, I've got an easy solution. Put Adam at halfback, put Adam at 5'8", put Adam at left centre and right centre and two wings, and we've got
lock
the
as well,
solved.
please, mate.
Well, you can't put Adam everywhere. If you want to talk about a major leap right now, Adam's playing lights out at halves. Okay, but if you look at the try he scored yesterday, it was basically like a fullback or like a centre coming out wide, and that's one thing I want to touch on too, boys. We were 13 on 12 when Adam scored, and we still couldn't create an extra man. Okay, Adam had to use his strength to get over the line there. We were 13 on 12. We still couldn't create an overlap. So there were so many times Adam and Jareem Buller were almost through the gap in the first half. Steve, it would have been right in your corner. Yeah. You would have seen that multiple times. Now I'm telling you,
center cut their legs off about 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, the one that I said is the worst player in the NRL that absolutely rubbed egg all over my face and had the only 80-minute game of his life, and he had to score.
Didn't you say Macca might score 3 tries?
Yeah, I'm telling you, Taylor May would have done a job on him, but that's another issue. But if you look at those almost breaks, boys, in my opinion, and I'd love you to pose this to Adel, Eddie, the guy out the back is too deep. Adam and Jareem are through the hole if they're closer to that lead runner. And to show you how far we are behind the rest of the rugby league, South got absolutely towed up by Penrith on Friday night. And if anyone's got access to the try before halftime from South, they get a scrum. They go shift left at 1,000 miles an hour, nearly scoring the corner, and they go massive shift right and scoring the corner to the new kid on the right wing. And I'm just sitting there thinking, we can't do that. We are just never, ever going to play shape that quickly and that professionally. And they got towed up by Penrith. Penrith put a bigger number on us, 68-0. But the point is, they got thrashed, and South are light years ahead of us. But that's how you run your shape. And maybe we should be watching how some of these better teams that run shape do it, because we haven't got a clue how to fucking do it.
Magpies today, Gary, I didn't see the game, but quite a few of the fans have put in the comments that Latu had a strong game and Magpies had a big win, and Javon Andrews another good game. I know the young guys, and the step up is big from New South Wales Cup to first grade, but would they be in your plans for the rest of the season at some point?
It's a hard one. I would like to see Latu playing more halfback than anywhere else at the moment. I'm really pleased he got to play halfback in reserve grade today, or in the halves in reserve grade today. He had the 6 on his back, I think. But from what I saw in that game, I've only seen highlights of it. He and Javon combined really well again today, and they have a number of times when they actually have gotten to play together this season. I also saw a really nice try where Edwards Roberts threw a really nice pass for Latu, putting through a gap, and then he combined with Andrews. So there is some potential there, but I didn't see enough of that game really to say who's ready to make that step up from what they played today.
Steve, I've only seen him. Sorry, Eddie. I've only seen him play a couple of games, and I haven't seen much of late. But people that I speak to that have watched a bit of Cup are saying that this Secura and the centres is knocking the door down. So I'm like, I don't know, maybe defensively he's not ready. I don't know, but I haven't seen enough of him. But we're playing wingers in the centre at the moment. Surely we need. He's got to be close to getting a look in.
Rob, just last one on Benji, that press conference. It was fairly routine. He took accountability as he usually does. He seemed fairly pissed off. I suppose you're not going to say everything to the press that you might say behind closed doors. What did you make of it?
Yeah, again, he's always honest and upfront. You can see the hurt. You can see the anguish. You can see how much he cares about the club. Again, this is only my perspective, but, given, Steve and I have chatted to him earlier in the year, he separated himself from the ownership. Okay, so it's basically been him, Sean as interim, Shannon Gallant, and his coaching staff. He's carried that football department on his back. He's basically carried that club on his back. So I've got the utmost respect for him in terms of what he's trying to do. And look, whether people agree with me or not, he has changed the culture of our club. We never used to play for 80 minutes. Okay, yeah, we've had the odd game against Penrith this year or Melbourne this year and last year where we've fallen apart and had well over 50 put on us. But there are times where I've seen, our teams turn it up from 30 minutes into a game. If we're more than 12 points behind, it's over. Hypothetically, if we were down 18-0 yesterday, I would say this team's going to keep trying all the way to the end. So he has changed the culture around. I give him a lot of credit, and I'm not saying he shouldn't be the head coach, but he can't be the head coach without help there or without changing his philosophy. I just don't understand how one of the greatest attacking talents in the history of rugby league can't coach attack, because he can't coach attack. He could go out there and do it and strip numbers and do everything perfectly. He just can't coach it. And that's what we need. And whether he likes block shapes or not, that's how the game's played to a large degree. And we're just an unintelligent team, mate. I'm singling out players, but I don't care. Strathfield Toa had about 3 or 4 brain farts yesterday. One with the challenge that cost us a challenge for 3/4 of the game. 2, when I think maybe Macassini or someone knocked it on in the St. George quarter line. He kicked the ball dead in goal. They get a 20-metre tap. They go tap, 6 again, penalty, score the try. There was one where he let the ball go into the in goal, which I thought was going dead, to be honest. But then he doesn't dive low, okay, and gets pushed back into the in goal. And then the icing on the cake was when he took the guy out who put a bomb up. I think it was Atkinson or whatever his name is. Like, he had 4 or 5. Like, they were maybe moments where I started thinking, well, does he want us to win or not? Because he's doing some incredibly stupid things today. But he's not the only one. We have a number of players that did a lot of stupid things yesterday.
You raised something that from what I've been told of the club at the moment, Rob, is completely true. That fact about Benji Marshall separating the football department from the ownership. The conversation I had today is that's exactly what's happened at the club, that Benji Marshall pretty much has that full control of the club now. And that's why I think it's so important. He's been given that control of the club, which I think he's doing a really good job of. I do think there's great aspects of our club that are improving. But that's why I think it's important that we get the right people around him. That's what he's now got kind of control of our club. It's really important that it's not just people who he gets on well with that he has around him. We do need someone else there to kind of support him in that role. That's why I want to get this right.
He's saying that, Gary, because Richo's gone? Because Richo strikes me as the sort of guy that if hard roster decisions or hard coaching decisions needed to be made this year, he wouldn't be afraid to do it. Whereas Sean, let's be honest, he's just been appointed. He's new to the role. He's going to want to please everyone. He's not going to step out of line, I think. Is that why you have this assumption now that we need a general manager of football? Whereas I'm sure you guys said in the past you're happy for Richo and Benji to do it.
Yeah, I don't really think Sean has that experience in rugby league to kind of do that role. I think he did it at the Mariners, but it's a different sport. It's a different level. It's a different amount of scrutiny around that role. So I think a little bit of support there, and it doesn't have to be I'm not talking about bringing in someone like a Phil Gould, but we had a guy like Adam Hardigan at our club who is now at the Bulldogs. I think someone like that would be great to bring into the club. It doesn't necessarily have to be someone who's going to be Benji's boss. It needs to be someone who can work with him, and so all that responsibility doesn't fall to him. And it's not about him being that sole person in the club, that he's got the right level of support around him. And I just don't think it's quite there yet. I'm not turning around and saying, like, Brett Hodgson is one of my favorite ever players, rugby league players. I played football with John Morris, and like, these are good people in our club. And I don't necessarily mean we should be getting rid of them. We need more support in there. And it may be changing structures around their roles in our club, but I don't necessarily mean that we get rid of all those guys. It's about providing the right support for Benji Marshall, because our attack just doesn't look good enough at the moment. And at times our defense doesn't as well. I do tend to agree with Steve that there's still issues defensively from our side. And these are things I want to see improving. And there's things that I've been seeing for 5 years that are still issues in our club. We need to fix those.
But put yourself in Benji Marshall's shoes, boys, okay? I mean, Benji Marshall is an extremely loyal person. Okay, so if you're on his staff, I don't think he's the sort of guy that's going to tap you on the shoulder and say, mate, you don't belong here. Yet he's in charge. He's got to make all the decisions. I was happy that he isolated himself from Holman Barnes group because you know my feelings, mate. There's no one in that Holman Barnes group.
I agree with that fully.
They have no capability. They've got no rugby league IQ. They're a bunch of dopes. They're an absolute bunch of dopes. So it's sad to say that we're better off lumbering the whole world on Benji's shoulders than having those dopes involved. But that also is the problem. The fact that he doesn't have anyone with a clue at that Holman Barnes level. Okay, and I know some of them have infiltrated themselves onto the West Tigers board. How are they going to help? What are they going to do? Like, it's just and they've put all their eggs in Benji's basket too. So, and given how they seem to have done their thinking in the past, all they care about is themselves. You know, the West Tigers, how that ends up, it's meaningless, okay? But we're the ones that are suffering because this is going to happen every year. We have to fix things up in there, boys. I think it's too much to ask Benji to make all these decisions and to try and coach a team. And he's involved in all the recruiting stuff, which he has to do because he's the coach and he needs to be the guy that wants all that. But I just feel like at other clubs, Benji would not have to do so much if he was a coach of one of the other clubs. Okay, he just gets to focus on the coaching, but he has got so much more responsibility at our club that makes it much harder for him to do his job that he's paid for.
Steve, the NRL season is a marathon, and 8 weeks in, everyone was praising how fit we looked and our conditioning, and we were a top 4 squad apparently. But unfortunately, this club has proved over 25 years that we can't go the distance. And there's context to every season, but even in 2005 and 2011, we won the comp one of those years. I think we were 13th halfway through the year, and we'd go on a bit of a late roll. But is that something you look at this season and go, well, maybe we just don't have it in us as a club to go 26 rounds and it's something systemic? Or is there context to this season and you look at it and you go, well, Appy could be out for the rest of the season now. We've got 2 guys playing out there with complete bung shoulders. I can tell watching them play, Buller and AD. They're doing their best. Taylor was out there doing the same. We've had 3 pec injuries already. I don't even know what my question is there, Steve, but do we have to review everything going on?
Well, luckily I've kept train of thought there. Look, you can't argue. You cannot ignore the evidence, right? Season after season, we just start okay and fall in a hole. Now, this year, I absolutely think injuries have killed us. It's knocked the stuffing out of us physically and mentally, because I think we were starting to get belief. We were starting to believe we were a good football team and a club that could really do something, and then we got struck with a horror run of injuries. But every single year, we fade out. No matter, there's always a reason. There's always something that goes wrong. Last year, it was Galvin and that upheaval and we faded out. Or this year it's injury, and it's been happening for way too long. You look at a club like the Roosters, they just get stronger and stronger and stronger as the year goes by, right? And I've heard commentators say that Robinson trains for that. He actually starts them way underdone a lot of other teams, whereas like Craig Bellamy, they when they're going good, they start like a steam train and just keep going. But we've got to have a look at our longevity. Like, we've had a reputation previously, and I don't think we deserve that reputation at the moment. We've had it where teams think we've got a soft underbelly. Teams think that we'll clock out as games go on and as the season goes on. So the evidence is there. So at the very least, we've got to look at it.
Gary, looking at the stats breakdown, you can't say, and I know effort shouldn't be sort of praised every week because as a professional player on good money, that's what you're expected to do, is put in effort. But again, yesterday, we had more possession. We had a better completion rate. We ran for more meters. We averaged a better set distance. We did lose the line breaks 5-2, which goes back to our attack. And the offloads, we only had 3 of them. But does that show that, Benji has changed the culture to some extent, and it's a lot more around game planning or execution of game plan?
I think it's 100% around game planning right now. I think our effort in the majority of games this year has been really good. But you know what? Effort's the bare minimum. That's the bare minimum you expect of first grade footballers when they go out there. That they go out there, they put their best forward, and they compete to the best of their ability. The problem is we're winning a lot of those areas in games. We dominated the red zone yesterday, but we scored 2 tries. And one of them, as Rob said earlier, came from a kick that Adam Dewey just chased harder than anyone else. That's not good enough for NRL standard side. The effort's been fine all season. I'm not going to sit here and say we've had many games where players have clocked out or many games where we haven't shown up. But the attack is just woeful at the moment.
Jerome Luai, Rob, he didn't play yesterday, but I had a problem with what he put up on Instagram, and I'm playing a guessing game here because he put some vague stuff up. He put some anime stuff on, but he posted something 10 minutes after full time of a character having a cigarette with a zipped lips emoji, which to me is an obvious reference at the fans who've been having a crack at him for Jock Madden and AD being our best halves. And to me, that's just totally childish and unprofessional. And that might sound hypocritical because I've said I want Jerome to be himself, and he's a guy that's not afraid to dish it out. But to put an Instagram post or a story up 10 minutes after full time of a game when you've lost to a one-win team, if I was the coach, I'd be filthy at that.
Well, Eddie, respectfully, I will defer to you, and I'd like you to have your full opinion on this because these anime things, mate, I'm old school, mate. I'm Wacky Races and the Huckleberry Hound Show, okay? So you read it how you want. I'm not going to accuse him of anything when I can basically understand, how to use a freaking iPhone. Okay, so you explain what you think because I love Jerome Luai. No, well, I love Jerome Luai. I see what a difference he makes to the team. We see what a difference he makes.
I'm not disputing any of that.
Yeah, but okay, if what you're saying is true, okay, then I would agree with you, but I can't say that's true. I mean, I posed it to the Discord tonight. I said, is there anything wrong with it? I think some of the people had different interpretations to you, like, he was feeling down. It's like season over, like it's a depressing loss. I don't...
Zip lips emoji?
Well, but maybe zip lips as in like, I've got nothing to say. I'm upset. I don't know. Like, that's what I'm saying. You have your opinion on it and you say it because I'm not going to throw him under the bus just on hypotheticals or...
Don't post 10 minutes after full time, man. No one should be on their phone 10 minutes after full time. If you're the captain of the club. You're the captain of the club. You're the captain of the club. Steve, should be on Instagram 10 minutes after a game?
No. Well, look, there's a really, really simple answer to this. I'm sorry. It really is. He antagonizes the fan base. He does, and now whether that's his personality or not, he needs some guidance there, right? He really does, because all it does is turn people off him.
That's what he needs to do.
And I think you know my opinion of it, and I am old school, probably more old school than Rob, right? But I know through my career, you always think about what you're about to say. You always think about what you're about to put in an email or a post or whatever it is. You think through what are the ramifications of this. Now, he not all the time, but he fairly regularly puts something out there that's quite controversial, and and all that does is invite criticism, and then he gets upset by it. It affects him. He doesn't like getting all the negative feedback. Well, the simple answer is, mate, don't put it out there in the first place to give people the opportunity to give you all that negative feedback. Now, don't take me wrong. I am totally on board with the sort of personal garbage he was copying about the way he was playing or perception of how he was playing. That's not on, right? That's wrong. But he has to be better than that. He has to just ignore it and move on because he invites more criticism. That's my opinion.
Gary, your take on it?
I'm a bit like Rob, mate. I'm almost 50. I'm not going to sit here and try and guess what a 25-year-old or 27-year-old man was trying to imply with some post on social media. I looked at it. I've got no idea what he was trying to say, and I don't think I'll ever have an idea of what he was trying to say. So It's probably not my place to comment. I'll let some younger people comment on that. I think.
I think I'd like to say to Eddie, were you offended when Jerome Luai looked at the Leichhardt Oval crowd straight in the eye and said, "Shut the fuck up"?
Different context, mate, because we won.
Why?
We won.
There you go. So that's exactly right. But he scored 3 tries, and he looked at people like you directly in the eye that were complaining about him, and he said, "Shut the fuck up." So respectfully, you should be more offended by that than some cryptic clue that you're reading with some Asian bloke with, I don't know, smoking weed or whatever and a zip lip mode. Like, I don't get it. I didn't even know what you put up till I opened the page. I'm like, and so what does this mean? Like, I'm looking at it like, what does that even mean? But
no, I just forget what he posted. Just forget what he posted. My main point is, I just think it's unprofessional 10 minutes after full time to put anything up on Instagram, especially something that can be open to interpretation.
Fair enough. That's your opinion, mate. I disagree. I want him to be himself. You wanted him to be himself 6 weeks ago. Now you don't want him to be himself.
Yeah, just not 10 minutes after full time. I don't have.
Well, what if he said, boys tried their hardest, disappointing loss? What if you put that up on Instagram? Boys tried hard, disappointing loss. We move on to Campbelltown next Friday night.
That might have been.
But that's still within 10 minutes of full time. You can't have it both ways.
That might have been a smart thing to put up. Anyway, we're not going to agree. Taruva, Steve, you noticed something at the game because Tito's offering the energy and he's been great for our club. Was there something amiss there in the last 10 or 15 minutes?
Yeah, well, there was. And I suppose this follows on. We don't know what to read into it, but there was those 2 moments. One was what I've already explained, that try. Like it just seemed that he and Skelton were so disengaged mentally from what was going on in the game at that moment. But what was more, after one of those tries was scored, and at this point it was obvious we weren't going to win. Well, they got behind the goal line, as you always do, and they got into a huddle, and Taruva was away from the huddle, and they sort of gestured towards him and was saying, get over here in the huddle. And he saw it and he ignored it and he walked further away. Then it was yelled out again and he eventually went around into the huddle for a few seconds before it broke up. But it was just, I don't know, you understand it and you're in the moment and who am I to criticise him because, he would be so disappointed. But all I thought was, I just hope these guys stay together, stick together for this back end of the season because we've been so pleased with watching this team bond so well. I just would hate to see these losses and this fall away from the top 8 break that. And it shouldn't break it. It really shouldn't.
Rob, anyone from the outside backs or forwards yesterday that made a good impression? It was good to see Alex Twile back out there. He was 74 minutes. You would have been happy because Terrell didn't play the full 80, played 67. I thought Bunty was okay for his 36 minutes.
Yeah, I thought there was a clear shift in mentality from Benji. Benji did try and make change. He, with what you just referred to there, Terrell came off after the 30 minutes. Unfortunately, I think it was Sione Fain who copped a head knock just after half-time, which forced Terrell to come back literally a couple of minutes after half-time. I think he would have got a bigger rest. I'm pretty sure Alex Twal played 58 minutes straight, which is pretty much the way we use Alex. We play him in a big lot, and then he comes up for a quick change. Bunty Afoa ran the ball really strongly. He made a really disappointing miss in the first set when Feeney went through. In fact, Macassini was involved in that tackle as well. Macca missed 4 tackles yesterday, 2 of those in the first 4 minutes. So he got off to a really shaky start. I think I've mentioned already, I thought Skelton was the pick of our outside backs. Obviously Adam Dewey was my best on ground. I'm sure he'll do the 3-2-1s later. I thought Appy had some good moments running from dummy half. Who else is there to mention? I thought Jareen Buller, other than that drop ball, was, again, immaculate. I just think, like I said earlier, if he's in the right position in some of those places on those shape movements that we do, he's through the gap. He wasn't getting tackled around the ankles. He was getting, around the legs. He was getting tackled around the ankles. He was so close to going through a number of times. He's world class. I know people just say Buller doesn't do enough and all that sort of stuff. Everyone's got their own opinion. I just refuse to listen to that. I think it's crap. No one else really to mention. On Taruva, I thought, I want to just stick to the footy stuff. Like Taruva just charging out of nowhere for the St. George first try was really poor. We had them covered for numbers there. I hope you talk a little bit more about that with Adel, Eddie. But no, I don't think there's much more to talk about. I think Adam was a standout. I was disappointed in a lot of Jock's kicking. I thought that really let us down. And, probably the turning point of the match for me, guys, I know everyone's going to say the Jock Madden knock on, when Saints went to score, but I actually think it was the poor pass from Toa on the inside to Madden after Adam had done a beautiful long cutout pass to Toa. Toa beat a man, and he's got Madden unmarked, and we would have probably scored somewhere near the corner 14-6 with a kick to come and about 20 minutes left. I think that might have been the difference in where the game went. But again, I'm not knocking the effort. I think we've turned that around as a club. I just think right now we're in a slump. Adel's mentioned it before. We've lost confidence, and we just have to pick ourselves up and somehow get out and support these guys on Friday at Campbelltown. I hope there's a decent crowd there, but at the same time, I don't blame people not wanting to go there. But I'll be there, and I'm pretty sure Steve and Gary will be there.
Gary, did you have any standouts yesterday?
Yeah, I do tend to agree with Rob. I'm very happy with Adam Dewey and Dream Buller. I saw Dream Buller getting a lot of criticism yesterday. I still thought he looked really dangerous. I thought Bunty had a pretty good... I'd still like Bunty starting. Terrell May was good again. Alex Pole, 147 metres and 50-something tackles is simply so important to what we try and do in the middle of the ruck. But outside of that, I wasn't very happy.
Steve?
I just wrote two names down earlier. I don't have a 3-2-1. 12 put in his normal 100% effort, and I thought Skelton played out of his skin. Running the ball back, trying to get yardage for us.
All right. Road ahead. You can give a 3-2-1 in here if you want as well, Rob. You don't have to, but the road ahead, we don't know what's happening with Appy. Didn't look great, although there were some reports today that it might not be as bad as feared. But I'm very wary to look at the road ahead because you'll bite my head off if I start predicting things for the rest of the year. But what's the goal?
Well, I'll put my Eddie Otto hat on. Let's assume the worst because that's how we live. Okay, so I'll assume that Appy's out for the year. 3-2-1, I think it's clear cut. Adam 3, Jareen 2, Skelton 1. Road ahead, look, we're going to get, I think Samuel is still 2 or 3 weeks away. KPP's out for the year. I don't know who else is coming back in the meantime. So, look, we just can't be, unfortunately, I think we've just got to accept some losses, but just hope that, the boys just stay connected within themselves and definitely don't listen to any of our podcasts or anyone else's podcasts. Like, they need to be united and just have a goal, and they probably need to win all bar 1 or 2 games to have a mathematical chance, and they've got to believe that, even if the rest of us don't believe we have a chance. But yeah, it's just, I think it's being a little bit selfish because it's very tough to be a West Tigers supporter, especially for as long as we have. But just think of those blokes, okay? Just think of those players and the coaches and everyone in the club that's put in from last November, knowing, the season's basically up in flames. So I don't think anyone will feel worse, and everyone within the footy department. So even though we want to feel sorry for ourselves, I think, I don't think anyone will be hurting more than the players and the coaching staff themselves. And I don't know what the reason is and why we suffer so much. But again, I've just accepted what my fate is as a supporter. And if I get to see finals one more time in my lifetime, I'll take it. But I'm not counting on it.
All righty, boys. I think we might end it there. We've gone over the magical hour mark. I'll just give a bit more context to that Luai post. It was a song, and I don't know songs. I don't know if it's rap music or whatever. It's a song called Burn a Boy, I Told Them. And someone's just said on the live chat to go read the lyrics because it's interesting. So people can interpret that however they want. And I love Jerome, Rob. I absolutely love him. I just thought 10 minutes after full time was a bad timing.
I've got no problem with you thinking that. I just want you to also say that Jerome shouldn't have told our fans to shut the fuck up. If you can put them in the same boat, then I'm fine with it. But you can't accept one and not accept the other.
I just thought, yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Thought he played that day and was man of the match. What's the only difference?
But it still doesn't give him a right to do what Steve's saying and alienate people if that's what Steve believes it does. Okay, it probably it probably fires people up a bit more. But look, Jerome is a smart cookie. He went and did those interviews like for Channel 9 and Fox and whatever straight after, and was cool and like apologizing and like, yeah, nothing to it. But deep down, he's probably saying, fuck you again. But he just said all the right things to the camera. No, it's just, anyway, we've spoken enough. I'm just, I hope you really speak about the game with Adel, because I feel like we didn't touch on the game enough and it was very opinionated tonight. But I really want to see Adel break down what we did right and what we did wrong.
All right, we'll stick around, West Tigers fan, because the man himself, Adel, fresh off a victory for the South Logan Magpies today. He'll be up in about 5 minutes. And Rob, I assume, will be back for in the mic'd up studio on Tuesday to preview the Warriors game at Campbelltown.
Let's hope so. So unfortunately, another family emergency for Daniel. It's so sad. Like you think we're upset about a footy team, mate. He's got some really heavy duty stuff going on with the family. So our thoughts to him. Hopefully we'll be in the studio, but also I should mention Tuesday night, Josh and Shane are going to do a call in. Jay, I know you're producing the show right now. If you can find the email address that people have to send to be on the show, I think it's podcast@westlife.com. You'll need to have a laptop or a computer and some headphones if you want to have a vent or have your say, but they're just going to have a bit of a call in and let people have their say. And just finally, I just want to thank Danny from Win Group for having me yesterday at Cogra Oval. Had a great afternoon with my son Brendan. Just obviously disappointed about the result, but you know what? I think maybe it was my way of, I actually needed to be there to see it live to just accept where this season's going.
All right, boys, good chatting again. We'll catch you on Tuesday for Cause Out.
See you, boys.
Cheers.